Yeah, for sure. And that's something, we're going to talk about here to start with is just those two plays. And I also want to go into like the formation that was presented because I think this is a type of formation that we're going to see quite heavily. And that is, but you see the formation here at the top. And this is a big deal, in my opinion, just because you have, let's see if I can draw on here. Again, I'm rusty. I'm not as good as Mark here, but you have basically this is 12 personnel. You got your two tight ends down here, and they do a good job of these condensed looks. Basically, you're bringing these guys inside, the numbers, and you're basically getting everyone jumbled up here in the middle, which I think is really cool. And when you break this down, it is just it's really good to see like just the route concept. They basically just want two routes, but you basically have the crossover, basically the streak by Abuka, and just a great catch by Jalen McMillan, like you were talking about.
Yeah, with those condensed, it was interesting because, and I'm sure you caught it too. They were doing a
Mhm.
ton of that 12 personnel on first and second down, and
Yeah.
really not going to 11 personnel till third down. Is that indicative of what we'll see in the, to begin the season? It's hard to say because I mean this is again preseason game one, and they had a lot of receivers who are just not available in this particular game due to
Right.
injury. But it is something I think you and I have talked about. It is something I've written about that um, Josh Grizzard does come from an influence with Mike McDaniel
Right.
before he came to Tampa Bay, who McDaniel did like to run bigger personnel sets. For McDaniel, it's more 21. There was some 12, but he liked a traditional fullback. But you could see these double tight ends with if Tristan Wirfs doesn't start the season on the active roster. So
Right.
yeah, and to what you were talking about for the condensed stuff, that really gives Grizzard a lot. If he can get tells from the defense and how they want to defend those receivers from those condensed splits, you could see speed cuts if they're trying to stop the inside leverage, if they're trying to stop the outside leverage, which they did here. Those inside release on even on the clear route, and then McMillan coming across the formation. It's going to
Right.
present a lot of issues for defenses, especially if they want to play man coverage. Even if they want to play zone, it's difficult to defend these types of routes, especially off of play action.
Yeah, I mean they come in the same formation here. You have 12 on the screen here, which is awesome. 12 personnel, two tight end set. And basically they are just going to, if I can get this to play, there we go. Um, and basically you're just helping out your offensive line, and you set up a Buka there with a nice basically a sail route almost. He's just running basically a deep corner,
Yep.
does a great job of selling it, good subtle footwork. And then I like how he comes back to the football, shields that defender off, makes
Exactly.
it, yeah, makes the catch. That's high end stuff right there.
Yeah, he waited. He was able to get that break just after the safety turned his hips to
Right.
create that little extra separation as he moves to the corner. So yeah, it's again. I think he only ran 3 routes on the night, and I was very pleased with all of them.
Yeah, I mean, even I didn't put the go route in here, but I mean, even that was a good route. But yeah, just a lot of good stuff. Here's a reverse angle. And again, you use those two tight ends to help with protection, and you get a nice completion. Again, these are the type of plays I think, Grizzard is looking for when he talks about explosives and getting more vertical. These are the kind of things that you're going to see where you can get 20-yard chunks at a time.
Yep, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
the other thing that's a little underrated was the fact that Abuka basically played the X
Yeah.
um, on this or in this game. So the Bucs have consistently talked about one of the things that they really like about him is his ability to play all three of the receiver positions. Even though everybody sees him in that F role, Chris Godwin's role, because he plays so much like Godwin, in this particular game, he was basically playing the X role, Mike Evans' role, because Evans was not going to dress for preseason game one, and what is it, year 12 for him. And he was effective. He played well. And that was against the Titans starting corners. I want to say he matched up against Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who is set to be one of their starters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, this is how these guys are so versatile. Even McMillan, I think, has the capability to, do some things at the X. Again, he won't do that very often, if at all. But to be able to play the Z and be able to be the basically everything kind of receiver similar to Ibuka, I think it just gives you more options to be more diverse, be more flexible in their concepts, which is that's what you want to see. And especially when Evans and eventually Chris Godwin gets on the field, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you've got four guys who probably do their most damage out of the slot. And this is one of those like champagne problems. Is like we're just going to
Yeah.
rotate everybody into the slot and give them all chances to be monsters in there.
Right.
And then the Ibuka and Evans and McMillan and even Godwin, they can play those outside roles when they need to allow somebody else to get those opportunities inside. And then what would be really fun is if you start to see like double stacks with these condensed looks that you were just showing in these
Yeah.
clips here. But can they get to, kind of playing a little bit more WFO on it and just do double stacks from condensed looks, one on each side? So, you put, say, Evans and Ibuka as the points with Godwin and McMillan behind them, just layered, and just let them all give them all, free releases.